So, welcome to my last year bit of cooking. So today I'm just making a mix of bird foods. What we've got here is the fats. I use a suet based fat and a tallow based fat. Today it's kind of the last end of year cook, so I'm literally taking everything and getting rid of all of my fats, my seeds, and then I'm starting afresh again. So that's everything in the pot, and then I've also got my dry goods. That's all nuts, seeds and some extra little bits here and there, and this is all just put through a blender into either a fine chop or a chunky chop. As it's winter I'm doing it chunky because I want them to have a bit more to nibble on. And then I've also got all my moulds. Yes, I have unicorn moulds. They're oddly enough very popular, and Christmas trees and circular ones, and I've got absolutely hundreds of different types of moulds available to use for each batch. So I've just got to heat this fat up and then add the dry ingredients, and this today, because I've got so much, I'm not following one of my recipes. I am simply eyeballing it from the texture. So let's get this fat cooking. One thing I'd say is don't boil suet or fats. Keep it at a low heat, but just gentle. I like poking stuff in pans, so this suits me just fine. And if you're doing this and you're young and you don't have an adult, please make sure you've got an adult. Boiling fat really hurts, and it, in the case of this stuff, it'll adhere to your skin. So it is very difficult to clean off. It hangs around. Now I'm a bit naughty doing this one-handed. The tallow fat, which is this, one-handed here, this lumpy stuff, it heats, it's heating at a different rate to the suet. So the suet should cook down first, and then the tallow fat will cook down second. That's why I tend to keep it on a mild temperature and just go nice and slow. Hopefully you can see that's starting to change, starting to get residue. There we are. And when you've cooked fat, something that really takes it out of the pan if you're going to clean them, make sure you don't pour any of the fat down the sink. Use a tissue to wipe it out and put a little bit of vinegar on the tissue to wipe around the pan to make sure that you take off all of that fat. You don't want that going down your drains. And the vinegar just cuts through it really well. But once you've wiped it out with a tissue with some vinegar, then that should remove enough fat that it should be safe to wash. And you can see that's really starting to go now. Bring it down. So the nut mix that I've got today, I'll just put onto there. This is peanuts, cashews, walnuts, hazelnuts, Niger seed, sorghum, saffron, no not saffron, sapphire, sunflowers, foxtail millet, just, it's pretty much everything. There's also a spoonful of wheat flour in there, just to help with the absorbency. When you grind down certain nuts, it's quite a wet mix, so I just put the flour in there just to help that stabilise. Because I'm eyeballing it today, I may not have enough of this for this, but we'll see how it goes. I'm covered in flour. Right, this is coming along. You can see that's changed quite dramatically now. It's a little bit lumpy with the tallow. I used to do these bird cakes in the microwave, and the smell was, I kid you not, the smell was horrendous. But doing it on the hob, I'm finding I've got much more control and the product is coming out much better. Just want some of these big lumps to drop down. I just want that tallow to disperse all the way through. Sometimes the fats sink and rise to the top of, or the bottom of the mould, so you just have to be aware of that. That's what I tend to use a mix. Try not to ever use lard in bird food because it's too greasy and it can cause birds damage. I think that's looking good. Happy with that. And there's a bit of grittiness because the lard that I use is in a mix, so that's fine with me. Yeah, happy with that. So I'm going to just put that onto like a number 2 just to keep it there, and then very carefully, carefully and slowly add a few spoons of the fat. I'm doing this slowly and carefully because I don't want any splashing. And just gently massaging and moving it in. At first it might seem that there's too much fat or too much dry goods, but the dry parts will be absorbing quite a bit of that fat. And you don't want it runny, you just want it stable. I've tried to make fat balls that I could actually hand mould, but it was too messy. Hence I use the silicone moulds. And all my moulds are bought off of Amazon. All food grade silicone. And I do actually have a pet food licence to produce my own bird food, which is pretty snazzy. So that is still way too runny. Some of the seeds I use don't mash down unless I get a pestle and mortar out, and that takes even longer. I'm going to use my spoon in there. So a bit of resistance, that's nearly there. And the nice thing is if I do it too dry, I've got some more suet, I've got some more tallow on the side that I can just quickly add in and melt down and make it looser. Right, that's still... But if you let it rest, you can see the fat actually sits on the top, so I know that that's still too much fat and not enough dry stuff. This food isn't just good for birds because of the high oils. Other animals, badgers, mice, foxes, especially in the UK, they really enjoy it, and rats really like it as well. I have to use them because I've seen them run off Woodwall. And the bird species that I get with these fat blocks goes from corvids, so Oyster crow and magpie family, jays, woodpeckers really like it, all the titmice, robins, dunnocks, pretty much everyone, and starlings, oh my gosh. When I have a flock of starlings in, that's it, these don't last 5 minutes. That's why I really try and make it to a really good quality. Whereas some of these shop bought ones are just beef tallow and very low grade food. Let's see. That's still slightly too runny. It's nearly there. Still slightly too runny. Yeah, actually, it doesn't smell bad. It's almost like a porridge smell. So now I'm just taking it a little bit slower. Nearly there. Actually, that's pretty much there, I reckon. And the thing is, when you put them into the mould, if you get a lot of fat rising to the top, you can just put seeds on top of that, and you can get a really, really nice back to your bird food. I get my seed and nut supplies from really good wildlife friendly companies, so like CJ Wildlife. I really recommend their products. Beautiful quality nuts, and they're all checked for toxins. So like with peanuts, if you don't get safe peanuts, they carry a very, very nasty toxin that can actually kill birds. So even though cheap places like Wilkinson's and such sell peanuts, unless they've got a symbol on them or a thing saying that they have been cleaned and are bird safe, and they've been checked for these toxins, you really shouldn't buy them. I have to save up a lot to get the quality, but in all honesty, to see healthy, happy birds, it's well worth it. There's no compromise on wildlife health. Well, certainly around here. Right, that is nearly there. It's got a bit of firmness, a bit of wobble, but there's still quite a bit of liquid on here, so I think one more will do it. Gordon Ramsay, eat your heart out. Let's just do that. Right, yeah, that feels proper. So when I pull it back, you can see the bottom. And it's nice and, the bottom of the pan is really nice and clean. Do that here. So yeah, that's ready. And that's pretty firm, but there is a little bit of fat on top. So now I've got to get it from here over there, one-handed. Right. I can go over that. So I'm going to turn my temperature down to 1, because I don't want it to get too hot now. Get a nice big spoonful. Just follow that spoon. Didn't do that brilliantly. So I tap it down a little bit. There we go. Right, that's plenty. If anything, that's probably too much. Now, to make sure that stays level, give the tray a darn good shake. Can you see the fats on top? That's how I want it. Right. That one looks good. Yeah, one-handed. Don't try this at home, kids. Right. I'm going to try and do just a couple of each mould. Sometimes you need a wetter mix, sometimes you need a drier mix. Certain moulds won't take certain dries, too much dry or too much wet food. So again, quick shake. Yeah, those two are looking good. So I got a tree, 2 unicorns. I've still got a fair amount of fat left. What I need to do is 2 hands. Okay. These ones I don't fill all the way up to. These are like treat discs. If you want to put a piece of string in, then these are quite a good shape for that. So that's probably enough. Right. And definitely doesn't matter if these are full or not. So because I'm doing the tree, I'm not going to get many small moulds. I mean, these are pretty deep anyway. And they start cooling. The minute they're in the mould, they start cooling. So as you can see, that pan is pretty darn empty. That took a little bit of fun. So what I've done is I've made 3 of the unicorns, and you can see the fat sat on the top of it. One of the cupcakes, which is a pretty deep one actually, probably shouldn't have gone that deep. I managed to fill the 2 Christmas trees. I've half filled this mould, which is just a random, very random, and I've part filled this mould, which is just a random again. So what I can now do is take some of my seeds and pour them quite literally on top. Now what this will do is it should take up any excess fat. They'll sink slightly into each of the moulds, so it'll be a different texture, and it'll make them look pretty. So I should have probably done these a lot lower. But now in this mix I've got these little white seeds, and these are ones that squirrels don't like the taste of. So I try and always put some of those in so that everybody else has got a chance. And also by pouring in a load of seeds on top, if there's too much fat gathering, then it'll just absorb, and it just works. And the thing is, once I unmould them, any excess seeds can just go straight out onto the bird table. So it's all reused. These ones have already started to set pretty well. Bird food making, it can be as messy or as clean as you like. I do a mix of both. If you have silicone moulds, I would say don't pick them up once the hot fat's in there, because they do get really hot and you don't want to hurt yourself. Again, just tap them down, shake the tray, just make sure it's all settled. This one's going to be a little bit difficult. When the fat is hot, try not to move your moulds around too much, because by moving them, if the fat's cool in certain places, it won't set. You'll just get cracks and it'll break. At least that's what I've learnt from experience. I don't always add a seed back. Sometimes I just put something like plain black sunflower seeds, sometimes I don't put anything. But I think because it's winter, the birds are going to need more oil, like nut oil, so omega-3 and 6, so that's why I add on some extras. Yeah. These ones, in fact, yeah, as you can see, hopefully, camera, focus, see the colours completely changed? That's nearly dry. This one, yeah, that's nearly dry. So sometimes they do harden a lot quicker than you'd expect. I'm just going to pour some in there just in case. I don't think that one's going to stick. So those I will leave for about 3 to 4 hours outside. Well, they'll either go outside in the freezing cold, under cover of course, and then they'll go to the fridge or freezer depending on how much I need. But the end result should be, let's see, something like these guys. So these ones were done yesterday. Most of them have gone out for the birds. They're grey in colour because I was using sunflower seeds as my base, so pretty much sunflower seed flour I made. They're covered in flour right now because once they come out the moulds and they start to chill, they sweat a little bit, and I don't want that excess moisture sat on the outside, so I just dust them with flour and they'll sit and mature for another couple of days, and then they're ready to go out. So from the oily muck, the dry stuff, to the moulds, to the final product. These just about fit in some of my feeders. Some of these I use for jar feeders, so they just pop in. And as I say, everybody seems to eat these. Within a few minutes of me putting these fat blocks out, that's it, nom nom nom, they're gone. As I said, they are not the cheapest ones to make because of the ingredients that I use, but in all honesty, they're fun, they help wildlife, and I think it's just great. I'm looking forward to these unicorn ones. On occasion I do sell these, but because, as I say, they are so expensive to make with the ingredients that I use, not many people were willing to buy them at the price. Let's show that. But if you're going to make them at home, make sure that you get bird-friendly and safe seeds, not just any old cheap seeds. Get it? Cheap seeds. Make sure your fats are safe. And if you want to make them to sell to other people, you need to get a license to do so. It's a pet food license, and the council, your local councils will help you get that. It's a bit of awkward paperwork, but it is, I'd say it's well worth it. For me, I had to do one. I don't use honey or that many byproducts, so I don't use like massive animal byproducts, so I was able to get in quite easily. It's just being sensible with your ingredients. So I hope this is going to inspire you guys to have a go at making some bird food and enjoy wildlife, and then from the enjoyment of watching wildlife, maybe even photograph it, maybe draw it, find an inspiration, because it's out there. So until next time, all the best and have fun.